So Susan just had a question: how do you advise organisation and groups who follow what many would consider abhorrent views, but would like to be heard? So when you've got some of the, kind of the views and opinions that are against kind of what you're trying to create, can be used to rubbish the diverse groups and can be very dangerous and deliberately divisive. So how do you kind of tackle that side where, freedom of speech, and therefore I've got the right to say whatever I want, no matter how abhorrent it is?
Yeah, I think this is something that has developed over time, as well as companies have had different policies and procedures to deal with certain things. And I think, personally, I think it falls on a bit of a spectrum. So I think, one end you have somebody who is just bigoted, essentially, and wants to voice it. But I don't think that everyone who says the wrong thing or says something that's not helpful or something that's offensive sits there. I think there are people who want to do the right thing, but they are concerned, or they think they're doing the right thing, but they are concerned. So I think if you can identify that it is just somebody spewing hateful comments, then of course they need to be dealt with in the correct way by HR. And I think, look, we all hold certain beliefs, but we get to choose how we behave. And that's the difference. And I think one of the things that I again would say is curiosity. Encourage people and upskill people in the appropriate ways to be curious, to go and ask people when they're interested. There are ways that you can do that without having necessarily said the wrong thing as well. So I think for us, it's about understanding what are the appropriate ways to be curious and talk about people's characteristics and the communities that they belong to, and where should that line be drawn. And I also think we should educate people in where people do have a good intention. I think we need to be able to have what I call shame-free education, because nobody ever learned anything by being humiliated and being shamed. So if somebody has the desire to do the right thing or to say the right thing, often they will then say, well, there's nothing I can say anymore because it's all a term that I hate, politically correct, and actually that's born out of frustration and a lack of understanding and fear a lot of the time. So it's about understanding, let's create environments where we can explore some of the biases that we have and how they play out. What I would say on that is I would tell people to beware of off-the-shelf unconscious bias training. And the reason that I would tell people to beware of that is because as a concept, it's good. However, the time at which it's introduced in your process and your strategy around diversity inclusion is hugely important, and also the follow-up. Because if you are going in there and people are getting the message that we all have biases, don't worry about it, it's dangerous. And often that is the impact that it has had. And I'm talking about at a senior level in some businesses as well. And again, it can appear like a tick box exercise because people are going, well, I've done my unconscious bias training, so I know I'm biased, but I won't be horrible to anyone. I'm not going to actually be horrible to anyone, so it's not a bother, off I go. And then people almost forget about it. So I would consult with somebody about what you're doing around addressing biases in the business. But as I've said, I think there are different tools that we can bring in to deal with things and to help people understand. And I think we can do it in a way that doesn't necessarily eliminate shame, but certainly reduces it so people are more willing to learn and to apply that learning.
Yeah, absolutely. Great thoughts.